The Mackenzie Shirilla case centers around a deadly crash that prosecutors argued was not an accident, but an intentional act of murder. So we're going to go through a quick timeline, and then we'll get into the update of what exactly has taken place. So we got all sorts of stuff going on up in here. You need to look at this. Well, Mackenzie Shirilla has had a little bit of a win in court, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. That's the sofa I keep talking about. My name is Paul if you're new to the channel. If you're not new to the channel, my name's David. Fold the cheese, David. I like to change it up around here every now and then. Just keep things fresh, okay? So y'all, Mackenzie had a win in court. Okay, it is what it is. We're gonna be talking about in today's video. Now, if you're just like, who's Mackenzie? What is this Shirilla person? Well, go on and grab your true crime blankie and get your sippeth from the cuppeth, and let's review it and then dive into the update. The Mackenzie Shirilla case centers around a deadly crash that prosecutors argued was not an accident, but an intentional act of murder. So on July 31st, 2022 in Strongsville, Ohio, a then 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla was driving a Toyota Camry with her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and his friend, Davian Flanagan. Now, they were going approximately 100 miles per hour, and the vehicle slammed into a commercial building. Dominic and Davian were killed. Mackenzie somehow survived with serious injuries. Now, at first, it looked like a horrific crash, right? Everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, what a tragedy. But there was way more to it. So the prosecution built a case that was effectively a murder self-unaliving attempt fueled by relationship turmoil. Now, some of the key points for this included that there was no braking before impact, prior threats made by her, possible premeditation, lots of relationship conflict, and drug evidence. Now, the judge would famously nickname this case, this whole trial, this whole situation or whatever, at least the media picked it up to, hell on wheels. And I think that's pretty accurate. Now, the defense, of course, said, hey, this is not intentional. And their arguments included that Mackenzie suffered from possible medical issues. There's like discussions around pots and whatnot. And, you know, that's a whole other thing as well. She may have blacked out. The crash could have been caused by impairment, dehydration, a medical episode, something, right? And that she had no memory of the event. However, that's left for everybody's opinion of if we think she really just does not remember that or not. Now, of course, the court would reject this explanation, right? So in August of 2023, after a bench trial, Mackenzie was convicted on multiple felony charges, including murder, aggravated vehicular homicide, felonious assault, drug possession related counts. She was then sentenced to 15 years to life in prison for each of the boys' murders. Those ran concurrent, and she is eligible for parole after serving 15 years. Her earliest parole date is 2037. Now, the Netflix documentary The Crash has recently come out, and it revisits the case and has really reignited debate because it heavily leans into Mackenzie's perspective while also visiting the evidence. Now, the documentary will cover the timeline leading up to the crash, police footage, trial evidence, family interviews, even Mackenzie speaking from prison, and her continued insistence that she did not intentionally kill Dominic or Davian. Okay, so what I want to do is this, is we're going to go through a quick timeline of like just all the stuff from the conviction to her appeal system and all that, and then we'll get into the update of what exactly has taken place. So let's rewind to go all the way back to August of 2023. Now, this is back to Mackenzie's conviction, and she would be convicted at a bench trial. This is one of the key elements in a lot of these appeals that she's doing, is she claims that she didn't want the bench trial, she wanted a real trial, but she was kind of strong-armed into it. Well, 2023 August is when she is convicted at that bench trial. She is sentenced to 2 counts of murder, drug possession, possession of criminal tools. She will get 2 concurrent life sentences of 15 years to life. So at 15 years, she is eligible for parole. Now, keep this in mind that if she ends up getting this to where she can actually go to a trial, it's a big gamble, right? Right now, she does have a chance to possibly get out, but you know, there's that. Let's go to the next event. Now, later in 2023, she files that first appeal. This is normal. This is what everybody does. They tell every defendant at the end of the thing, hey, you have 30 days to do this and blah, 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 right? So this is standard protocol here. Now, in this, her attorneys would challenge several parts of the case. They would be going over her juvenile binder, the sufficiency and the weight of the evidence, the admission of prior act evidence, the amendment of the coroner's reports, and testimony from from a medical examiner who didn't personally perform the autopsies. Now, fast forward to September of 2024, her conviction would be affirmed. So essentially the 8th District Court of Appeals was like, nope, everything looks good here. You go into jail and you stand in jail. So when she finds that out, fast forward to October of that year, her and her team are like, well, hold on, we got something else to say. So all the while, Shirilla filed a separate petition for post-conviction relief in the trial court. Unlike the direct appeal, what this one was doing is it was relying on information that basically hadn't been properly presented at trial, okay? There's a few key main elements here. So first of all, number one, she's saying, hey, my trial attorney was completely ineffective for not looking at this or, bringing these into the trial. Huge thing we're hearing from is evidence concerning her POTS medical condition. Text messages that would suggest that Dominic Russo, he was the one that grabbed the steering wheel during an earlier driving incident that took place. And also there was evidence that she was presenting that said, hey, wait, I had a legitimate reason to be near that crash site because she was getting like produce or something like that left by this local store owner, some situation like that. There's a whole thing that went on with this of like, why was she even over there and blah, 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 blah. And I think at this point it has been established that's a pretty, normal place to go, especially for the scenario that her and Dom were in with kind of like extracurricular activities and not wanting to be on the radar, that type situation. So, but again, I'm not from this area. I don't know what kind of a cut through it is or how often it's used, but it was necessary for her to bring this up. And let's talk a little bit more about that dynamic. So there's a woman named Allison who operated this local grocery business near the area where this crash was. So she allegedly left this package of produce for Mackenzie to pick up. Now, apparently this location was accessible like 24 hours a day. And so Mackenzie is saying, well, this is why we were headed there at 5:30 in the morning. Now, this lady testified during Mackenzie's trial, but her testimony basically focused on Mackenzie's relationship with Dominic and whether that relationship seemed stable or not. Now, Mackenzie's current attorneys say that the trial counsel failed to ask her. The more important question is, well, did you leave this produce there for Shirilla to pick up?
Okay, Silva Squad, if you've been following me, then you'll know that I've been dating Hungry Root for several years now. We're in a relationship, okay? It's stable, it ain't complicated. I love them, and they're making today's video possible. Now, at this stage in life, Hungry Root has been through so many seasons with me, and I mean that both literally and figuratively, right? They've gone through selling a house, buying a house, ice storms at my new house for 2 weeks, getting iced in, and also, as of most recently, a hip replacement. Each of those times, Hungry Root has kept me on track with my diet, which is typically a high protein diet, but with also snacks along the way, and they make sure those are healthy. And one reason why I've stuck with them and stayed with them is because they make it so simple. Today, I'm going to be making this high protein ground beef patties with some bacon. I mean, it is what it is, okay? And these yummy rolls with kale, spinach, pesto. It's going to be amazing, and it keeps me coming back over and over these recipes like this. And Hungry Root makes it super easy. Whether you're high protein, low carb, whatever kind of diet you're trying to stick to, they make it very easy to do that with their grocery selections, with their meal selections. So they send you these right here, and it tells you the recipes to do. Now, you don't have to just stick to what they say. Like, I'm going to put this with it right here, this white rice here, 90 seconds. And this burger and stuff that I'm cooking right over here, y'all, it takes 13 minutes to prepare. It's all right here delivered to your door. So one thing that's kept me using them for all these years is how personalized it is. They learn what you like. They learn what you're shopping for. And so you can be consistent with that, but they'll also make suggestions for you and send you new stuff to try. There are more than 1,000 grocery items and over 50,000 chef crafted recipes to choose from. Y'all, a lot of these recipes are ready in like 15 minutes. It combines the convenience of a meal kit with the variety of a grocery store, and I am here for it. Now, another thing I love about Hungry Root is they vet out the ingredients. They're making sure that there's no bad stuff in what they're getting for you, right? Whether it's fish, whether it's beef, whether it's snacks, you don't have to worry about what you're eating with Hungry Root. They do that work for you. Y'all, this bacon is so good. This applewood flavor with the hamburger, 10 out of 10, do it again. I think you're gonna love Hungry Root just as much as I do. And as always, you already know they're hooking the Sofa Squad up. You're gonna love Hungry Root as much as I do. For a limited time, get 40% off your first order. Plus, they're gonna hook you up with a free item in every box for life. Click the link below or go to hungryroot.com and use code Sofa Squad. That's 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life at hungryroot.com with code SOFASQUAD.
Now, one of the things that would happen in the trial with the judge, the original trial, is she would make mention of Mackenzie going to this location and basically practicing, right? And like scoping it out and all that type of stuff. It's big for Mackenzie, or it should be, or if she's trying to get around that, to say, hey, no, I had a reason to be over there, right? Now, again, from what I understand, a lot of locals say, well, hey, this is kind of a cut through. Although a lot of locals, including cops who took the stand, are like, you got to go slow on this road. Like it's a bad road or whatever. A lot of people will make mention about Mackenzie scoping this road out. Now, again, I'm not like a pro Mackenzie person or anything, but at this point, learning what I've learned, I'm like, I don't think she was scoping it out. I think that was a route that they used to avoid detection by cops. And it was just like a cut through or whatever. So I think that's how she was familiar with it. Now, does that mean that she didn't know to go that way that evening? I don't know, right? Nobody will ever know except for her. But I don't think it was like, I'm gonna scope this out and do a practice run. This is what I'm gonna do. I don't think she's that smart. I'm just gonna be honest. I don't think she's that with it. I think she reacts to everything in the moment. She's one of those people that's just like, beep, beep, what's happening right now in this time, beep. I don't think that she would have the wherewithal to do all that, right? I mean, no offense to her or whatever, but to me, that's kind of a nothing burger at this point. I think it's interesting that she's trying to say, oh, I had a reason to go over there to get this, instead of, well, no, we always went through that way, right? I mean, at this point, and I don't know how the law works with this, but I would rather be up there saying, if I was trying to save my butt and like a big M charge, I would be up there talking about, well, we sold ABC and cops run on that road, so we were going that way all the time. So it was normal for us to go that way. The other side of the argument could be, so you were familiar with it and you knew that you could go down there and do this wreck. Again, I think it was intentional, but I think it was in the moment intentional. I think something happened in that car. They got in some big fight. Something took place. We see this in the text messages where he could breathe wrong and she is ready to just pounce, right? And I think that within a split second, she went from 0 to 10,000 and then went from 0 to 100 miles per hour into the wall. Okay, so let's fast forward to April 29th of 2025. So after Mackenzie loses in the 8th district, then she runs over to the Supreme Court and she's like, hey, what's up? Bet, Scoop, Olive Garden, you want some food? Will y'all please look at my direct appeal? And they're like, no, we're good over here, but no thanks, we're not gonna accept this one. So that's a no-go for her. Now let's fast forward to May 1st, 2025. So this is when trial court dismisses Shirilla's post-conviction petition. They don't even consider the substance of the whole ineffective counsel thing. And they're like, hey, this was filed one day late. Now, Ohio law requires it to be filed within 365 days after the file transcript was filed in the direct appeal. But the transcript was filed on October 24th, 2023, making October 23rd, 2024 the deadline. But hers was filed on the 24th of 2024, which is 366 days. Now, her attorneys will say, hey, wait, we're going to appeal that. So her attorneys are like, well, hold on now, hold on. First of all, we got a leap year going on up in here, so let's just everybody settle down. But also they're like, well, wait, we need to talk about these dates, okay? Because transcripts from the juvenile bindover proceedings were filed after the main trial transcripts. So they're like, look, that whole 365-day clock thing y'all are talking about, no, that should have started when those later bindover transcripts were filed. So like, we got all sorts of stuff going on up in here. We got like other things here. We got the bindover here. No, you need to look at this. So then let's jump up to 2026, this year currently that we're filming this in, but all the way back to March. I'm filming it in August. So the 8th district would reject her arguments and they would affirm the trial court's dismissal. So they would rule that the transcripts, the criminal trial transcripts, not those juvenile things, those were the ones that triggered the 365-day deadline. Now, one thing in that filing that they did is they were like, well, hey, look, there's other districts in the state of Ohio that have done this similar type thing. So we need to set the precedents for everybody, right? So that we know, like, we need to know the rules up in here. The court would also reject the leap year argument. They would say that, look, the statute provided exactly 365 days, not one calendar year. And because 2024 contained an extra day, the filing deadline fell one day before the calendar anniversary. So then let's fast forward to April 27th of 2026. So this is when Shirilla will appeal to the Ohio Supreme Court. And this is about that whole one day late decision. Now, this was separate from the Ohio Supreme Court case involving the original direct appeal. However, by June 23rd, the Ohio Supreme Court was like, oh, who's this knocking on the door? Shirilla? She's here again? What does she want? Oh, No, we're good. So that would leave the 8th District's decision in place. So that meant that the ineffective assistance claims in her post-conviction petition still hadn't been considered on their merits. And so Shirilla's attorneys pursued reconsideration, and this whole federal petition that she did recently described that as pending when it was filed. Now, let's fast forward to July 27th of 2026. So in this one, Shirilla's new attorneys filed a delayed application, and they were going back and asking that 8th District to reopen her original direct appeal. Now, they say that her appellant attorneys were ineffective for not arguing that her trial attorney was ineffective. So you see how this is getting like, well, wait, they're ineffective because they didn't say this person was ineffective. Like, everybody up in here is ineffective. Now, they would talk about a few specific things that stuck out to me about the trial counsel and the failure to do these 3 things. So object to the amendment of the coroner's reports, object to testimony from the non-examining medical examiner, and establish the necessary foundation for Dominic Russo's text messages. Then let's fast forward to July 28th of this year. So at the time of this recording, we're talking about not that long ago, like a week and a half ago or whatever. Okay, so this is when Mackenzie files a federal habeas petition. One day after she asked the Ohio's 8th District to reopen the direct appeal, this is when her team filed a federal petition for writ of habeas corpus. Now, here's the thing. This federal petition, it contains 8 grounds for relief. These include insufficient evidence, an improper juvenile bindover, the coroner report amendments, the autopsy testimony, and ineffective assistance by her trial, appellate, and post-conviction attorneys. Now, what she wants is the federal court to vacate her convictions and order a new trial. So now, just a couple of days ago, August 3rd, she gets her little bit of a win. So a federal magistrate judge, Jennifer Dowdwell Armstrong, conducts the required preliminary review. And the judge is basically like, okay, hey, look, I looked through this stuff. I was scrolling, I was rolling. I can't conclude just on the face of this that she was ineligible for relief, okay? So then she goes and orders Warden Aaron Maldonado to file a formal answer. Now, this is known as a return of writ. Now, they have 45 days to do so. Now, this means that the petition essentially went through the very first screening, okay? It doesn't mean that the federal judge is like, yeah, we accept this, we did this, you know, oh yeah, her rights were violated, oh, she's getting a new trial. It doesn't mean any of that. Basically, the judge is like, hold up, I need more receipts up in here. How do we get these damn receipts? You over there, get your people together, bring this stuff to me, right? And it does this chain of events, okay, that have to take place within a certain amount of time. So we got that 45-day mark. So after that, around September 17th, 2026, the state's response is due. Now, the state has to provide the federal court with the relevant trial transcripts, court records, appellate decisions, indictments, affidavits, and docket records. And the state is probably going to argue that some claims were already rejected. Some were filed too late, others were fully exhausted, etc., etc. And in the judge's order, you know, they're putting out there, well, look, this is what you need to do in that event right here. But regardless of all that, if you do that, we've got to hear from it in this formal aspect. After that, Mackenzie's going to have 30 days to file her reply. It's called a traverse. Now, the state can then file an additional response. So only after that briefing will the federal court begin deciding whether any of her constitutional claims are able to overcome these barriers that she is trying to seek to get relief. So again, I want to reiterate, this isn't, she didn't win, she's not getting a new trial, none of this stuff. It's somebody saying we need to really look at the full picture here. She has literally gone through so many different appeal processes to this point of exhaustion that she's getting to the very end, right? So it'll be interesting to see what will happen here, and it'll be interesting to see fresh eyes on it, if you will. Again, this is another one of those cases. Right now, I'm currently following the Lindsay Clancy trial. So many theories, so many this, so many that. Mackenzie is no different. There are so many theories out about the situation and about her and all this. So it's almost like, okay, well, this is going to be very interesting to see how this goes, right? With some fresh eyes on it. So we will be here for it. All right. Now, let me know what you think about it down in that comment section below. And while you are down there, if you could, drop off some little sofas for myself, Roscoe and Spirit, Bo and Luke, and you, the Sofa Squad. You make the channel possible. It wouldn't be here without you, and I'm greatly appreciative of it. Now, until we all meet up in that comment section to do all the stuff that we do, I'll see y'all soon.